Hello everyone, my name is Bob Bennett. I'm chairman of the Ohio Republican Party, and I want to welcome the Ohio Republican women online to our new website. Welcome you to interact with us on an ongoing basis. And this is the first time that we've recorded anything for your online group. Been given a few questions by Mary Ann Christie to answer. One of them had to do with school funding, and wanted to know what the status of the state education system lobbying for all the money for public schools and no money for distribution to charter schools. As you know, the governor and his team right now, Governor Kasich, are working to put together a plan that will place a renewed focus on educational innovation and academic standing. And this plan should be rolled out shortly after the first of the year. And I think that it will be a plan that will address many of the shortcomings. We put less money into our classrooms than almost any other state as a percentage of the total money that goes to the schools. We are top heavy on administration, we're top heavy on a lot of other things that do not benefit the classroom, and I think that's one of the things that Governor Kasich wants to change. So when you look at it, Ohio is one of the worst states in driving dollars to the classroom, and we want to really flip that and bring more money into the classroom and less into overhead. The plan is likely to be rolled out, as I said, early next year, and we expect it to be a cutting-edge new system that will help get our kids the education that they deserve. And I think that what we really need to do is to put kids first when it comes to education, and not teachers' unions, not teachers, not administrators, but the kids. And if we always think about putting the kids first, as Governor Kasich says, we'll do the right thing. I think the next question that Mary Ann wanted me to address was the status of the Obama campaign, which is suing Secretary of State John Husted over early voting restrictions. You know, the Democrats have been using the court system to weigh the election in their favor for years. And the Secretary of State John Husted has taken the brunt of it for this cycle. What I would suggest to you is that Secretary of State Husted is trying to level out the playing field so that the rules that apply to the large counties also apply to the small counties and vice versa. And he believes that the election rules and regulations should apply to all 88 counties across the board, and there shouldn't be any deviation. And he's trying to work towards that right now. Now, it's interesting to me that when the larger counties were mailing out absentee ballots in the 2008 election cycle, and in fact paying for the return of those ballot applications in the major counties, particularly in Cuyahoga County, where I'm from, and also paying for the ballots to be returned in postage-paid envelopes. And I argued at that time that that was giving us some value to the voters. In the case of my home county, it amounted to over $1.50 in postage alone in 2008, and of course more in 2010. So the Democrats weren't interested in applying that across the board. So the smaller counties that couldn't afford to pay for those type of mailings were left holding the bag and hoping that people would show up on election day. We made it very easy for people to vote absentee. We have no-fault absentee voting in Ohio. You can apply, anybody can apply for an absentee ballot. It will be mailed to them. They can fill it out in the convenience of their own home, and they can take that ballot and put it in the mail and mail it back to the Board of Elections. And we have a fairly large window in which to do that, about 35 days. So I think that nobody is denied in Ohio the opportunity or the right to vote. What the Democrats want to do is open up election polling locations and boards of elections the weekend before the election, which is a very strong, what do I want to say here, which is an impediment to the larger boards getting ready for the election on Tuesday. And anybody that votes on a Saturday or Sunday before the election, chances are that that's sent out in in a memo form to the individual precincts on who voted on those days, and in many cases it's not caught, so that when the person comes in and their card is still at the local precinct, that person can vote maybe twice. So I think that the restrictions of absentee voting on the 2 days or the weekend before the election at the boards is something that is a good thing. I think also keep in mind that any voter that day can vote by absentee mail if he has a ballot, if he's applied for it. He can vote on Sunday by absentee ballot. He can vote on Monday by absentee ballot. And as long as it's postmarked by 7:30 on election day, he can vote on election day by absentee ballot. So there's no restrictions. This is a phony issue that the Democrats are trying to litigate in the court, and we will vigorously oppose that. The other thing is Mary Ann asked me to really talk about the most important issue facing us in this election, and that is the economy. There's no question that Ohio has lost a number of manufacturing jobs, literally hundreds of thousands, and even under Governor Kasich, which we've had job growth here in the past year, we still face a headwind from Washington in regulations, business regulations, and the uncertainty of what's going to happen to the tax code and what's going to happen to regulations between now and next year. In Ohio, Governor Kasich has made jobs a #1 priority, and Governor Kasich has really hit the track running in spite of the current administration in Washington. Already, he's worked with legislators to tackle the $8 billion budget deficit that he inherited, moved to completely overhaul the way state attracts development, which is laying the groundwork for future economic success in Ohio, and we're seeing this almost monthly in the creation of new jobs and new opportunities for businesses here in Ohio. As a result, we're already seeing flickers of light in Ohio's job growth. Unemployment fell to an estimated 7.2% from the 7.3% that we had in May, which means Ohio gained around 18,400 jobs just in the month of June alone. But by no means do these early results mean clear sailing ahead, because we still have a lot of work to do digging ourselves out of the 400,000 job hole that we were left in by the previous administration. The wind is still in our face, as President Obama, as I said, is looking at has delivered the weakest economic recovery since the Great Depression. And I don't think anybody who has relatives, brothers, members of your family that have been unemployed or underemployed would argue with. Because of Governor John Kasich's leadership, Ohio is looking at a brighter economic picture. Now, the other question that people have asked me is, I think that I touch on a little bit, is about the Tea Party movement, and more specifically about Ron Paul and what's doing to include the Ron Paul Liberty movement that many people support. It might surprise you that I'm a member of the Liberty movement and have been for the past 3 years. I subscribe to their fiscal policies of lower government and reduce spending, and I think that we're just out of control. And it's just unfortunate that Congress, which has only a 10% approval rating right now, is unable to come together to solve the most important problems facing our country, which is the budget deficit and the ongoing debt crisis. If we continue on the way we are right now, if Obama would serve another 4 years, just based upon his budget this year alone, in 2016, we would have a $20 trillion debt. That was the debt that we would be living to our children and grandchildren. It is just unsustainable and would absolutely create havoc and wreck on our economy and put us in worse shape than some of the European countries that we're hearing about today. So I think that everybody tells you that this is the most important election, but I can assure you that I've never in my life feared other Democrat presidents doing the right thing for the country. This president, I fear that he wants to take us in places that we've never been and to destroy the entrepreneurship and the initiative of the American people. And if that happens, I fear for our children, I fear for our grandchildren, what type of standard of living that they're going to have saddled with this type of debt. The Tea Party movement is very important to the Ohio Republican Party, and we must continue to work with them as we share much of the same core values and will continue and are unified by the similar goal of taking back the White House this November. And I haven't talked to any Tea Party members that don't want to have that as their ultimate objective this year. So, with the convention coming up this weekend, I want to talk a little bit about our national ticket. Governor Romney has been in the state on numerous occasions and has connected with Ohioans clear across the state. Let me say this. It's no secret that I supported Rob Portman for vice president on the ticket. I think Rob's an outstanding senator. I think he's done an outstanding job as a senator, but more importantly is he had the background and the understanding of the executive branch of how to get things done in government. The other thing is he had the unique ability of working across the aisle. Now, if Rob Portman would not be chosen by Governor Romney, I can't think of a better person to put in that place than Paul Ryan. And I'll tell you why. Because Paul Ryan is in the same place that Governor Kasich was 15 years ago, or almost 18 years ago, when he was first challenged to balance the federal budget. And I might add that the last guy that has balanced that budget is our own Governor Kasich in the federal budget. Did it for 6 years straight and had to fight off not only the Democrats, but I also recognize that he had to have arguments with members of his own party who kind of got into that habit of spending too much money in Congress, which seems to be a lot easier for congressmen and senators to do than it does for our state legislature. Anyway, getting back to Paul Ryan, Paul Ryan has started the discussion not only on straightening out the budget and the budget deficit that faces this country, but more importantly, this is what drives the economy. This is what drives new jobs. Once we solve these problems, once we get over the hump on balancing and working towards a balanced budget, is we're going to have a sustainable economy that will benefit not only ourselves as we grow in this economy, but it will also benefit long-term for our children and our grandchildren in solving many of these problems. I think that Paul Ryan is a great addition to the ticket, and I think as you get to know him, you're going to find out something else. He's an awful lot like Senator Portman in the sense that he's a nice guy, and he's a conservative with a smile on his face. And you heard me say this before, sometimes conservatives don't always have a smile on their face when they're articulating conservative principles. So I think with that, I probably talked too long on this little short video already, so I'm going to leave you with this. Please encourage your neighbors, your friends to get online, check our social media, check our website, volunteer where you can, go to our victory centers, help us knock on doors, help us persuade those people who are undecided that this is the most important election facing them in their lifetime. And please, get out and vote. Remember, vote for Mitt Romney for president and Paul Ryan for vice president. Thank you very much.